Okay. All right. So, guys, thank you for everyone for jumping on time. Let's get this show rolling. We have 45 minutes, and I just want to say thank you for coming to another Black Ops Roundtable. We're going to be hosting these every couple of weeks. You should all be on the calendar invite, and so yeah, if you just lock it in, we'll be exploring new topics every couple of weeks going forward. Please invite as well anyone who you feel would be an addition to the conversation. We're going to do, if you haven't been on these roundtable calls before, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do an interactive presentation. And so I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to take your mobile devices that usually is somewhat of a distraction on these kind of calls. And then we're going to use them to participate in the roundtable. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay. And the first thing we're going to do is log in. So we're going to take our mobile phone and I'm going to do it here as well. And then we're just going to scan the QR code with our camera. And then once you're in, if you can just give me a thumbs up or a heart, that tells me that you're in. And if for some reason you don't have your mobile device on you, what you can do is you can actually go to menti.com and then type in the code 41702067. And also to make it even easier for you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the chat, a link. So if you open up that link in the chat, it will take you to participate in a separate window, in a separate tab. Okay, fantastic. So I've got some people coming in already. Just give some people some time to jump in. Okay, awesome. If at any time you get lost, you can just come back or click on the link that I put in the chat just now. So tell me, guys, who are you? What do you do? It'd be nice to get like an idea of everyone on the call. Consultant, please type in the chat as well. Feel free to type in the chat, guys. Okay, very good. Consultant, dentist, HR consultant. Fantastic. Senior search consultant and healthcare practice leader. Thank you. Business coach. Fantastic. We got a lot of people. Jackie's just coming into the chat as well. VP of operations. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Dorothy. Okay, so just before I move on, most recently VP for a DSO. Okay, fantastic. So let's move on. Who are we? So Black Ops. I'll introduce myself. I'm Evan. I'm hosting these roundtables, and I'm also the digital event strategist here at Black Ops. And Lynn, take it away. Who are you?
Hey, Evan, thank you. And all of you that are on the call, thank you for joining it. As Evan made mention, our roundtables are definitely different. So I will let you know, please email, text. You guys on this call, for the most part, have my number direct. So I know you're hearing a lot of questions. This particular series is all on how to use artificial intelligence in a lot of different categories. And today, specifically, we'll get to the topic here momentarily. But Black Ops Management Solutions, I'm Lynn Campbell, President and CEO of Black Ops. Black Ops has been out there now for 15 years. We specifically do support the healthcare, specifically in the dental space, but we're also a little bit deeper in the healthcare space of operations. Our main purpose, and you're going to meet others on the team, is to support the owners, dentists, and the like in their business operations. We like to boost profitability, as everyone on this call is working on, scaling strategically. We use a signature approach, though. It's a four-step approach. We like to go in and analyze, then build upon what we've analyzed, grow, and then monetize. And so we deliver these tailored solutions individually to turn operational challenges into growth opportunities. And with that, I'd like to introduce the team. Some of our team members are actually with clients today, but Kevin, if I may, let me introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to meet everyone. My name is Kevin. I'm one of our strategic business coaches. My background is mostly in the dental lab space and the technology and startup space as well. So often I'm working with practice owners, leadership teams, often on the strategy and the operations side. Often we're working within sales, um, operation life cycles, trying to streamline operations, processes, team alignment, all those things needed to be able to grow and sustain that growth as well.
Kevin, thank you. And Lori she's actually with a client. She's in Arizona in one of our medical clients and really executing on AI. So to see some of that from last week, we have posted some things on YouTube so you can see that. But Lori will be on as many of these as she possibly can. So with that, Evan, let's turn back to you.
Thank you. And we'd like to introduce our guest speaker today, Erin. Erin, if you can come on mic and tell us who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Evan. And good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here. I work for the HR Innovator Group, which is a boutique HR consulting firm. I've been here for a very short time, actually. The owner is somebody that I've known for a very long time and has actually worked for me in past roles. And some of you may have met her before or heard her name. Her name is Stephanie Heaton. And prior to being here, I did spend some time away from the HR discipline directly in operations and decided I needed to come back into HR. So I spent most of my career in HR consulting. I've worked with over half dozen dental practices myself in that tenure, and very excited for the opportunity to be here today and for discussion. Thanks for having me.
Thank you,
Thanks so much,
Erin.
Erin. So the topic today is workforce trends and retention strategies. So let's look at some of the top challenges, some of the top HR challenges that dental practices are facing right now. So you can speak as a dental practice owner, as someone who is working within a dental practice, or as someone who helps dental practices. So if we can just get an idea by voting here on our Mentimeter, let's get a read of the room of what we think are the top challenges. Okay, interesting. Attracting and retaining talent, implementing new tech, skill development, and the generational gap. Okay, interesting. Okay, wow. Okay, it seems to be a pretty even spread. Everyone's having a lot of these different challenges, but it does seem that the attracting and retaining talent seems to be the biggest issue. Okay, we're going to be going in and talking about all of these. Do you have any comments on this, Kevin or Lynn? Is this what you're seeing in on the ground?
Yeah, thank you guys for giving us the insight. And this is exactly aligned to what we're seeing and what we're hearing as well, especially for the solo practitioner. There's the DSO challenges as well, but corporate or DSO, when they have a larger platform, there's that competitiveness as well. But yes, attracting and retaining talent. Uh, we hear a lot in uh, we've generalized this, if you would, more of a generational gap. But today's younger generation, what do they want? Why can I not hire them? You know, I've been doing dentistry for 45 years. Why can I just not hire? So yes, we're hearing these. And then also today, skill development looks different than having that manual that used to come along and really educate and train our team. So yes, this is exactly what we're seeing.
Fantastic. So, guys, let's go first to the first question. How can we attract qualified dental professionals amid staffing shortages? So I'm just going to take the time just to download that question, and then I'm going to come off presenting here. And Aaron, I think you can kind of get us started on this. What's your perspective?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And first and foremost, I would say nobody's alone, right? Staffing gaps are common in the dental practices. And from a foundational level, a couple things, right? Branding is one, right? Showcasing our practice culture, our benefits, the mission. is it even evident on our website, right? And when you take generations into these questions as well, what are those younger generations looking to, right? They're looking to the tools, resources, and information that are already out there about you before coming to have a conversation with you. They're very proactive in engaging those strategies and doing their research. So between your website, social media, and that does extend into the interview process. Also from a foundational level, referral incentives. I'm sure that that's something that can be a strange conversation at times, but if you're having trouble attracting and retaining talent, it's a good thing to consider and look at what are the standards within the industry, what is the competitive environment in your locale, offering those rewards for staff who even refer qualified candidates. Sometimes, particularly if you do have some younger staff, they may know some other individuals that are just finishing up education as well, depending on the role that it is that you're looking for. Word of mouth is always a very powerful in close-knit dental communities. And then for those in communities that offer also partnerships with dental schools, right? Establishing those relationships with the local hygiene and dental programs to access new talent pipelines. And then, technology wasn't a large response in the poll that Evan just had up, but it is a huge driver, right? So if you look at things like cloud dentistry, right? You have an AI-driven platform that connects practices specifically with other verified professionals in real time, really creating that network and that recruiting source right there. There's other things that can assist with the job descriptions, right? That can be a very daunting task, and there are tools and resources that can provide that at the snap of a finger and really provide an accurate picture of what it is that's expected in the role. Obviously, with some oversight and input that's specific to your practice, but saves a ton of time and really sets the expectations right up front. And then, automating candidate engagement as well. You have things these days like the chatbot that can handle FAQs and really help candidates get a clear understanding of the job before they're applying and interviewing for it. And that will make a huge difference in ensuring that you're attracting the right qualified candidates from the start as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, Erin. Lynn, any comments on what Erin just shared?
I do have a few comments, but I'd also like to open up and if you'd like to come off mute, I'd be interested in this audience, what are you finding as successful? But I would share with Erin, it is about the branding because the audience is definitely going into your Instagram. They're wanting to, is this going to be a fun environment? Is this going to be an environment that I can actually engage with? Or is it going to be an institutional sort of environment? So they're very quick to look at your socials to see exactly where you are and what people are saying about you. If they're working specifically for the doctor, if they're going to be working specifically for a front office manager, they're going to do a little deeper to see what that individual is like on an individual basis. So I'm aligned with where Erin is. We're finding that culture, if you would, is being investigated. Once that is done, they're also looking at how quickly they're being responded back to. We got to keep in mind it's with today's technology, we instantaneously we want a result. I mean, even Chat GPT, right? We're just instantaneously not even wanting to use Google search anymore. We just want to get the answer and move on. We've got to keep in mind that if we're looking for front desk or we're looking for a dental assistant, a younger generation may just be coming out of school. They're so accustomed to this. And if we're taking a week, 2 weeks, a working interview, and then let's bring them back to interview 3 or 4 more people, and it becomes a long process. They'll ghost us immediately. So that's exactly what we're seeing as we engage with our clients. But I would like, again, opening up for people to give your expertise, what's going on. Anyone like to kind of give a comment there?
Well, I would just agree with you, Lynn, and Aaron, you too. It's a really dynamic environment right now, and still coming out of COVID. I think people are really interested in being a part of a culture that they're excited about. And so, as much as I love AI and use it every day, it's for me like a tool to be more efficient and do a better job. But to actually connect with people in person or even like over video like this, but they can see you. It's just such a nice way to connect and kind of sell your practice brand and actually get people to accept the offers that you're extending. So.
And I think you just really addressed the biggest piece. AI is an efficiency tool. So it allows us to be more efficient, more quick, more accurate, but we have a tool to help us in that regard. So it's time management or efficiency. But AI is not that interpersonal piece. AI is not going to provide us that connection, that warm connect, that face engagement, as you may mention. That's still very important, but it alleviates all of the manual paperwork because we could utilize AI in all of its pieces. So the efficiency is the value for AI. And I know many of our doctors are going to be, a little concerned, or maybe I don't know AI well enough, so I'm nervous on even what I need to do. So in this particular call, we'll talk more about AI. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else like to share?
Some doctors are at a point they trust AI and more than they trust their team, because the team has failed them so many times. So we deal with that too. And then we deal with the team members who are so sensitive. Yes, they may come on board. They may think the practice is the culture they want. They may think this is what they want. But the first sign of somebody saying something against what their beliefs and values are, they dart for the door. It's just another problem going on right now. There's no
Charmin,
tolerance with a lot of these the team members. It's just become more and more difficult.
you are exactly correct. And I think addressing that's once again, we can't rely too much on AI because AI is still evolving in itself. And so if we only rely on the AI, we will fail. So it's really a very sensitive move
Yeah,
here. So, well, thank
yeah.
you for your
It's
involvement,
it's a
Evan. I know
dance.
we
It's a really crazy dance right now.
absolutely it is. Yes. Evan,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, so really great points. I just want to keep the conversation moving. So how do we motivate and retain staff? Erin, if you can start us off again.
Yeah, no, this is great. And I think everybody already teed up for this, right? AI, again, it's a great tool, and we're going to continue to talk about that through our time today as well, but it doesn't replace a human touch. And that's kind of the point, right? Point is you're using AI to help with some of those efficiencies and cut down time spent on tasks that aren't as much adding value. It's giving you the time that you need to have and are expected to have this day and age, and really always, right? But yes, we have some generational changes that are taking place too to connect with people. And so, how do we motivate and retain that staff? First and foremost, we hear it all the time, and I think it's very underrated and underutilized, and that's recognition and appreciation, right? Celebrating milestones, acknowledging hard work, providing regular feedback. Feedback is critical. People want to work for somebody who is engaged in telling them what they did well, what they could do better, continuous learning. Those are important, particularly to the younger groups that are coming out and learning and applying, their skills, right? Their educational skills, and putting them into practice. How do we get better? It's through the mentorship and the teaching and the coaching and the feedback that we get from those that are both leading and supporting us. Here's probably a challenging one: career path, right? So you look at it as a practice owner and think, okay, well, I have like 10 employees, maybe. What is the career path beyond, my own retirement? And so being able to connect the dots for those individuals, maybe it's helping them understand, okay, what is the career path within your practice? What also is the career path in the industry? And how does what you're offering for them today fit into the building blocks of their overall career objectives for a lifetime, right? Or at least until retirement, and helping to connect those dots for the individuals. And I'm sure you've all heard it, and this started very heavily in COVID, right? Work-life balance. I mean, we aren't going to necessarily have remote work for all roles, or even most roles in a dental practice, but what is that flexible scheduling? How is that offered? Is there paid time off or flex schedules in general? What is it that we're offering within those groups? We know the dental industry is demanding physically and emotionally. Retention certainly hinges on creating a workplace that values that growth, reduces burnout, empowers the team members. So again, reducing those administrative burdens, improving communications, both internally and with patients. The more effectiveness the staff has in communicating with patients, the more they can focus on their tasks that directly impact inpatients that are in the office at the time of needing support. And Also probably underrated in small practices or data-driven insights, right? Making sure that we're looking at staff performance and helping to identify opportunities to recognize excellence. If you've got, the tools tracking the data, you can see the results of the work of individuals and draw those out for recognition opportunities as well. And then again, just supporting that overall professional development. What is that individual's career path, and how can you connect the dots for them in the work that they're doing today and how that builds for what they want in the future?
And
Thanks,
Aaron,
Aaron.
I'll add and I'll ask again if you'll come off mute and ask questions. Dorothy, I think you were off mute earlier, so maybe this is a time to ask your question too. But I would just share, and I am not an HR expert. That's why we bring subject matter experts to the call. But we are relating so much with our solo practitioners, as Charmin. I think where you are today and the doctors you work with specifically, it's kind of ironic. But if we'll look back, today's working generation that we, the older doctors, having a challenge with actually was us back in the 80s. So we got to keep in mind we were kind of raised free ranged, if you would. Get out of the house, go do your thing, because the parents were both working. So typically it was our grandparents that was giving us our morals, our lessons, but we were very independent. So when we're thinking today's generation, and I'm not an expert here, but when we're really thinking of our mannerisms, if we could just remember what was it like in the 80s for me, and I'm aging myself, so not everybody was in the 80s, but if we're looking at the 80s, what did that really look like? I mean, heck, we're even getting into fashion, the baggy jeans and the big hair is coming back, right? So we've got all of that, but I do agree, clear expectations. And then in that clear expectations, what does performance need to look like? More importantly, not only a result performance, but also behaviorally, how do I get that or obtain that performance? How do I get there? And if you're truly communicating and not in a combative way, because again, the audience wants to be hip hip hooray, here's your trophy sort of thing. So we have to be very constructive. So I hope that allowed some people to come off mute, please, as our roundtable. Dorothy, I see you right off the bat, so go for it.
Yeah, this is one that I'm very passionate about, is really people understanding that you want to invest in them and you want to pour into them and see them grow within that organization or within that practice. But I think the way that what I've seen with employees is how they really feel valued is sometimes how do we really pour and invest into them, not just from a standpoint of I'm going to pay you more money, but I'm also going to ensure that, hey, if you want to get your ceiling certificate, if you want to get a notch certificate, that shows that employee that I just don't want you to be great for me, but like Aaron was saying, down the road, how does this look for your career? I don't want to just make you feel like you're important just right now. I truly care about you as a person and as an employee and as a professional. And so I think really showing people that we can invest in things like certifications, really invest in them growing in other ways outside of just what's in these four walls and thinking about the long term really makes people feel like that you care, as a solo practitioner or as a DSO. I think I've seen a lot of really positive results from that. And on the other end of that, really for employees, I think them feeling like they have a hand in kind of what's happening in the day to day, they have their jobs and what they do. And we often know, but I think just even asking the question, hey, what would make your job easier? What are some things that you see that we could really do differently in the practice to help things become more efficient? And while it might not always be the best idea, the greatest idea, the fact you're willing to just sit and listen and take into account what they're saying often means a lot. And that can turn from somebody being there for 3 months to now 3 to 5 years and really wanting to grow within your practice.
Dorothy,
Yeah,
thank you for
Dorothy.
sharing that,
Yeah.
and Aaron, I'll punt to you and anyone else that'd like to answer. But I'd like to validate a success story here. This is a client within Black Ops, and she's the doctor, the dentist, and he's actually an electrician. And the staffing was a challenge. She was having a really hard time, but then he said it's really simple. Let them have clear expectations, but in electrician, they have to get their certification. So within his firm, that's the career path. And so if they were to walk away, they walk away, where they're actually fully certified, if you would. So that was some benefit. So they tied it into their benefits, but it was a retention, and there's retention bonuses and so forth that they did. But now she's very successful because she realizes it's career. I've got this dental assistant that just came out of school, and now how do I really groom them? And Dorothy, you said it best, allow all of these other sort of degrees, or if you would, certificates that could be added. It could be a dental hygienist. It could even be a dentist that's specializing. So there's a lot of opportunity here. Anyone else like to comment?
When I'm coaching a doctor or person in management, I require them to do what I call power lunches or power positive talks. And it's every 3 to 6 months. You sit down with that team member and you ask them, what are your personal goals? How's it going? What's your professional goals? How's that going for you? What, and if you owned the practice, if you were me and you were in charge, what would you have us do? Listen to them. That way they know they're sitting down one-on-one every 3 to 6 months and they're going to be heard for their ideas. Just like Dorothy said, whether they're good or bad, they know they're being heard. I also implement, bonus systems that deal with money, but also like based on performance. But I also like to implement something amongst the team, whether I call it um, the 5 star high five. My goodness, I even had somebody in East Texas call it the Atta Girl. That's what, I was like, really, we're going to call it Atta Girl? I don't think we should do that. So, but whatever it is just a system to where the team can give each other accolades and there's bonuses and prizes and awards given off on hearing positive things from your team members when they do positive things. So they need to hear it from the who's in charge, but they also need to hear it from each other, is what I believe. And it helps them.
Charmin, thank you for sharing that. I know Erin can appreciate this because she and I both come from the financial industry too, but I remember back in the gotcha days. So every single person that worked in that financial institution, our goal was to catch you doing something really, really good and recognize that. And that was just the team recognition. We see it on the AMAs and the CMTs and all of that, right? It's about team recognition. So it's very important. So thank you for that. Evan, yes, thank you.
Okay, so next question, guys, is how can we train our team on this new AI technology? We kind of touched upon it beforehand, but we didn't really go into detail on how we go about training people. So, Erin, if you want to kick it off.
Yeah, so dental practices will benefit, right, from the turnkey training platforms that will help reduce the onboarding time, increase the technology adoption process for both the clinical and administrative teams. And let me share first some non-AI best practices about training them on AI. The hands-on shadowing, right? Making sure that we're pairing folks together. Now, if AI is a new implementation, you've got existing staff, and then you've got ongoing new staff to care for with that, and providing that support with the guided training and learning that comes along with it. And then it was just mentioned recently, right? Kind of that lunch concept, that lunch and learn, offering ongoing sessions to introduce updates, may sound a little off place in small environments, but the point behind it is providing the time for the continued and ongoing support. The feedback loops, right? That came up, and whether it's feedback, and I think Dorothy said it really well too, the input, allowing folks who were the end users to feel like they're a part of the process in sharing what's working, what's not working, what else can we leverage this for, what else will provide an added value. And one of my favorite ones, it's a very long HR answer that I've used, because I started in HR in the era of going from paper to when all of the HRIS technologies were just coming out. And I learned very quickly that sometimes the answer can also be as simply as take away the old way of doing things. So I'll leave that as a nugget for what it's worth. If you continue to rely on old practices, they're going to continue to be used because folks get comfortable with them. Beyond that, right, there are different tools that help drive some of that training. You can have customized modules, whether it's by role or tracking the progress, ensuring consistency across the team. You've got, and one of those would be actually Trainual is one of those tools. There's also Verdi or Verdi, depending on what part of the US you are in that pronounces that, which uses the immersive AI-powered training simulations to help build that confidence in tools and protocols. And then tool integrated training, things like Overjet that comes with an expert-led sessions and ongoing support. There's Bola AI that provides hands-free charting with accessible training resources. And then there's Diagnocat and Curl that offers built-in education for interpreting the AI diagnostics and applying insight to treatment and planning. I mean, we can certainly go on, right? There's a long list of them. I would say these are some of probably the most up and coming at the moment that are being implemented and leveraged in dental and other health related practices.
And Aaron, I'll add for the team here as well, if we can help our doctor owners really look at why they've had exits, right? So why has team left? And then truly not try to judge it, take it as the grain that it is, as the score came back, right? Why did they really leave? It's a great opportunity as we're hiring in new. We're hiring in new because of also their talent. So now we can set expectations. If I'm hiring in a dental assistant today, I would really like that dental assistant to be engaging and educating us as the team they're coming into, because they have the AI experience, because they've learned that in school, or that's just their discipline, right? Same thing for front desk, same thing if I'm bringing in a newer hygienist or even some associate doctors today. It's leveraging the team to be at that lunch and learn. Let them have a part, let them have a voice, let them be integrated. The doctor owner doesn't always have to have all of the answers, and really shouldn't have all the answers. The team around that doctor is the one that's going to really build the team. So it's recognizing it, and it's okay to let go of some of this. The other part, and you'll find this is where Black Ops and many on this call can provide the support. It's the unknown of what AI is. It's unknown of how do I actually teach myself and teach others. And again, I, the doctor owner, don't necessarily need to know it end to end, because AI is individual. Front desk will do this, dental assistants or clinical can use these other tools, but it's how to engage with, how to be navigating through those, and leverage the team. So anyone have a comment there before, Evan, we move to the next? Charmin, Chick, Dorothy,
No.
your guys good? All right, Evan, I think there was another.
Fantastic. Yeah, so this is actually I think this is one of the things we most want to dive into today, and it's how impactful is the generational gap. So we've got a really nice um image here, like an infographic, which I've actually seen being circulated on LinkedIn recently. So it's really popular. And it just shows you kind of like outlines all of the different generations. And I've been studying it myself. Lynn, do you want to speak to these different generations?
Sure, and we'll lean back on Aaron too, because you're the recruiter of these. But again, this gives us, and it is valuable, right? It gives us an image of who each of these generations are. So when we're thinking of in our practices, and most of our solo practitioners, they may be in their late 40s, mid 50s. And so when we're starting to look at, and some of them could even be older, but you've got the silent the generation, and I'll just highlight each one of those. The silent is going to be that 1946 and earlier. So this is going to be our older generation, there's no doubt. But they typically serve on boards or anything, so they're going to be more of a driven. Yes, I still might be a doctor, but I'm very much shaped in duty and discipline. So this is the discipline driver. Most of ours that we're finding are the baby boomers out there, our doctors. And so today we're looking at stability, loyalty, legacy. So that's where we're getting the frustration. The doctor says, well, they're just not loyal anymore. They just won't come in and stay. They don't know why, but that's why we're getting the feedback. It's because they quickly look at the loyalty there. Gen X is many of us on this call here. We're independent. We're definitely delivery focused, so we want to see those results. But we're hiring in the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas now. So I'm not jumping over millennial because it kind of fits in with the Gen X, but purpose driven. That's where you're going to see those performances and those conversations that need to be. And then kind of the tech and value transparency, Gen Z, and then digital first, fast learning, entrepreneurial. If I work for you, am I going to get something overall, right? That's sharing some, profit of some sort. So the recognition. So that gives you kind of an insight, Aaron. I know you can speak much better to the generational gaps that are there, but we can see in our practice, there is a generation sitting in that practice, multiple generational, right? And from a baby boomer to a millennial, it's pretty tight, but now we're really bringing in the Gen Z and the Alpha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Lynn. And I'll share some points, and then I'm actually going to come back to the generations to give kind of another spin on the values. It kind of tie into what you've built already, but bridging the generational gap, it's critical in any workplace. And then also we have a little bit of an emphasis on the AI component today too, as well, right? So making sure that we're doing that and really sustaining team harmony, emphasizing the inclusion, communication, and the mentorship ensures that every generation has an opportunity to thrive. Practices now host up to 5 generations on a single team. There may even be 5 people on that team, and each one of them is an entirely different, generation that they're representing. Each having, very distinct work styles and communication preferences. The boomers, of course, may resist the technology and prefer face-to-face interaction. Even some of the early era Gen Xers may feel that way. And then you've got, the other end with the Gen Z folks who really want that digital engagement and career clarity. And that just expands even more in the generations that come beyond Gen Z. A misalignment in any of these things can really hinder whether it's the technology adoption or any objective, or task, you name it, in an office space, and cause breakdowns in communication, reduce the morale. From a strategies perspective, promoting multi-channel communication. So if you're meeting text, that's maybe a small practice, but thinking about the different generations, they like to communicate in different ways too. So again, what are the tools, resources, and channels being used to deliver communication? Launching mentorships and reverse mentorship programs. So we talked about this a little bit when it came up as allowing those other generations to provide input, right? Back to reverse mentoring, allowing some of the newer generations to come in and share, what are the wants, needs, and expectations? Because remember, some of them are also parents, creating more children. And at the end of the day, they're all also patients, right? To practices. And so understanding what the expectations are, have a multifaceted, perspective and value to what they bring to the organization. Assigning roles that match the generational strengths, right? So Gen Z for the tech rollouts, using the boomers for the mentoring. We talked about flexible work arrangements, providing those opportunities where possible, designing those training programs that can really accommodate the different learning styles. And then, again, on the softer side of things, the inclusive decision making, involving staff from all generations in the process, in discussions, allowing them to feel like they're part of a decision making process, right? As a practice owner, you're going to have the ultimate, authority and decision in something, but understand, right, where the staff is coming from and who else has a future vision for what can bring value. And being inclusive of those thoughts and leading up to that decision is incredibly and increasingly valued. And celebrating those diverse work styles, right? We come back once again to recognition and validation of the different approaches and teamwork and problem solving, and the time management. So the generational gap in today's dental offices is certainly a very significant factor influencing team dynamics, so communication styles, the workplace expectations. And it's a lot when you have, at least 5 generations in one practice, same place, the same time, each day that we're navigating through. So there's a lot, and it's often not considered enough in small dynamic spaces. I think it's very easy for larger organizations and large practices to navigate through having some sort of balance, but it really takes extra work and focus when it's smaller practices that need to give some care and attention to all of those different variances among the staff.
Erin, thank you for that. I do want to open up because this is a great dialogue with expertise on this call. But, when we're really assessing a practice that's having high turnover and we truly get to root cause, it is understanding the generational gap. And Erin, you made mention, it is very typical, I'm the doctor owner, so therefore I need to provide rules, regulations. This is my policies. This is my manual that I've been operating on ever since I got it. Yes, it's dusty, so I'll dust it off, but this is what we use, right? And then we probably have people that have been working for us 15 years, but then we have the newer audience altogether. And so it's truly recognizing what are we missing? Who can we bring in and help part of that, especially the mid to smaller practices is the biggest challenges. The larger groups are recognizing generational, but again, you bring somebody in that maybe a mom was a patient working front desk, they can bring so much value. And utilizing the AI is important, but it's the communication. So it is this generational piece and how we address that. So I do want to open up quickly before I'm also doing time check here. What comments do we have out there from anyone that's on the roundtable today that would like to talk specifically to your experience in the generational gap?
Lynn, this is Chick. If I could make an observation, folks, it's been a fantastic call. I was really interested in this subject. I am not in HR. We've been operating a dental GPO for many, many years, and my members have reported frequently to me they're having problems hiring staff. I'm not the right person to help them. We operate a GPO, but I do understand this problem. Something my dentists have been asking us for years is, because we can generate agreements that save money for the practice, they've been asking what we can do for the staff. And this was called out well before COVID. We've been doing this probably for 8 or 9 years. As a GPO, our answer to HR problems for the dentist is to give them discounts for the staff. For example, we offer discounts on wireless service with AT&T. I can give a 20% discount on scrubs. I can give 20 to 30% on Avis and budget. I can give staff discounts on office supplies. Now, I do know it doesn't solve the generational problem I'm hearing. I do know it doesn't solve the recruitment process, but we're trying to help the dentists build a better culture. And I will share with the audience here what I'm hearing from dentists directly. They're doing the same thing. I'm finding dentist members reporting very creatively, hey, I've got a patient that operates a restaurant down the street, and I can get discounts on my meals for my staff there. Same thing with coffee shops. I'm finding dentists are working their patient base and finding things in the community that can create value for working for the practice. And that's part of the cultural development, which is older school. It's not as much AI. But this has been a fascinating conversation for me, and I thank everybody for what I've learned.
And Chick, thank you for bringing that up. It definitely is not so much the generational, but it is one of those issues for the smaller, if you would, the solo practitioner. How am I able to be competitive when it's hard for me with benefits and things like that? But when you have a benefit package, if you would, that's being creative. So my total compensation, it's not just my salary that I'm offering, but now I've got some benefits. And even if it is a car wash, a back massage, a free meal, those are benefits that I would say some of the larger DSOs may not be thinking about as well. So, it's how to get creative to make your benefit package very attractive. And that doesn't really cost anything. That's relationship. So, Chick, thank you for sharing that. Swinging us back, Evan, to kind of pulling us all together here. Anyone, any further feedback specifically on the generational gap or how you might be working with your team or your doctor's team on recognizing this generational gap?
I think
Yeah, I'll
Aaron
chime
spoke
in
to
there.
this.
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
But really quick, I think Aaron spoke to it, is really kind of leveraging the talent that you have already today. I think one big thing when we had a big rollout of a new piece of technology, it's hard to get people to get used to change. But if you have those champions within the practice, right, it makes it easier to kind of go down. Think about getting, advice from your parents versus getting it from your best friend. It's the same advice, but it's a lot easier to hear it from my friend than it is from my parents. I think it's the same thing within a practice. If you have that younger generation that can get used to the whatever the platform is, be comfortable with it, and I can now show my team members that, hey, it's not such a big scary thing. This is how it's going to make our life so much easier, really leveraging the positives and how it impacts your specific role, not just, like you said, the practice overall. Clinical doesn't necessarily have that impact on the front office piece of it, but I think each person kind of seeing how it impacts them and hearing it from a team member that's in their same space, working with it every day, is a lot easier to get the implementation, not just to roll out, but to stick long term.
Dorothy, thank you for sharing that. Evan, I know we need to kind of move forward, but continue if someone else has a comment as he's moving us forward. Thank you, Dorothy.
Hey,
Thanks,
Lynn, I'm going
Dorothy.
to jump in real quick on something real fast.
Yes, please.
The team that I got here is the massive generational gaps. We've got every area there. I've got 60 team members above me, and they're every single generation. And what I learned when I first got here with this group, we had about a 40% turnover. I knocked it down to about 10%. We're barely losing any team member. The attrition level is so low, and the reason for that is bringing in things like Weave, platforms, dealing with AI. There's a call intelligence that Weave has, listening to what they're saying, how they're saying it, why they're saying it. And that has helped grow that gap. It fused it together because you created a different SOP. So that's a big one. And the second one I can toss in there on trying to retain the different generations is not overutilizing them. I think a lot of providers tend to do that. They tend to turn everybody into Swiss Army knives. And when that schedule starts dwindling a little bit, they start looking at every single person micromanaging. And for the newer generation, they're not going to put up with that like the original generations, the Gen Xers and beyond. Like before, it was you got it, we'll take care of it. Give me what you got and I'll keep marching. Fast forward now, they're not putting up with that. So, making sure that we're not overutilizing team members, and tailoring to their capabilities using the technology at our hands, I think. And, that's the norm. That's what will minimize that staff attrition tremendously.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's also important thinking of the professional doctor that's got a contract too. Well, they need to be working a minimum, they need to be working 4.5 days, right? They can be off Friday afternoon or they can be off Thursday afternoon to go golfing, but I need them to be here. But in today's time, a doctor that can work 2 days a week because they have a family and they have that's more heads, if you would, is better than not having a head at all, if you would. So it's just looking at things differently. So thank you very much for sharing that. I will just kind of summarize here for Black Ops. That is what we do. We work in the dental space, the medical space, and the small business space, and supporting the owners, supporting the business structure. If there's systems and processes, and it's just please hold my hand, or more importantly, just guide me along. That's where we are. Many of you, you're in that seat as well. You know exactly. It's a navigation, and it's having somebody. And Dorothy, you said it best. There's the parent, and then there's the friend. The friend kind of navigates that conversation and gets the buy-in a lot easier than the parent. And so, that's where we are as well. And to do that, and you can see on screen, you can book a call. You'll book that call through Kevin. He's inside our team, of course, and he can navigate you anywhere that needs to be. But if you're just I have a pain point, let's just talk. We have no problem in just having some conversations because we do learn together, and we're at the end of the day, once our dentists are successful, we're all successful. So that is a live link. It would be on Calendly to get onto Kevin's calendar, and Kevin navigates around for us. So thank you very much for that, Evan. I think that pretty much takes us to where do we have next?
Yeah, so just to reiterate, this is a live link. You can actually, if you're using Mentimeter on your device, you can click on it to book a call. I've also shared a link to Kevin's calendar in the chat. If you want to talk to any of the experts, go through Kevin and he'll direct you to the right person. So let's get some questions very quickly, guys. We've come to the end of the call. I know that I want to respect everyone's time. If you need to jump now, you can do so. However, if you want to ask some questions to our panel of experts, then now is your opportunity. Okay, so we got our first question. What do younger team members expect in terms of office culture, leadership, or communication style? So we've just talked about that, but is there anything else we want to say on that?
I could just summarize that, right? I mean, transparency, feedback, inclusivity, and that inclusivity comes back to input that we've talked about a couple times. They want their leaders to be approachable, clear, open to ideas, and I would say too that hierarchy matters less than authenticity. Authenticity, if I can say it correctly. That's what they're expecting in their office cultures.
Thank you, Aaron. Do we have another question, Evan?
Yep. Do younger applicants expect higher pay or different benefits than previous generations? Interesting.
Interesting. And Aaron, I would take that. But again, I think Chick made mention of this. It is more competitive, if you would. It's a little more difficult for a solo practitioner that may only have 5 on the team to offer all of the benefits that some larger DSO may have. I mean, Matthew, to your example, you've got 60 above you. So it's different because headcount volume discounts your insurance and the like. So you can offer a little bit more, but it's to be creative. And I think Chick made mention free meals, free dry cleaning, any of those little frees, those need to be recognized and count. And many insurance platforms has that kind of wellness program that comes along with, and it's typically very if it's even promoted at all or even recognized, it's a by a miss, right? Where we can have some counseling and so forth. That should be spoken a little bit more heavily. So, Erin, anything else you would like to add here?
I think you hit most of it. I think another one that's very popular lately, from a health and wellness perspective, right? Whether it's gym reimbursement, discounts, however you arrange it, right? As well as the massage, right? So anything health and wellness related is also very popular. I think Chick's idea was a fabulous one too, right? Looking to what is near the practice and are any businesses willing to provide, right? Some perks and benefits that can be highlighted there as well. I mean, we talked about the flexible schedules. Paid learning is another one, especially for anybody that needs those continuing eds, making sure that you're providing them some time, determine an acceptable ratio, but allow them to do some of that on company time. That's also incredibly valued and a great retention tool as well.
Yeah, and as we go to the next question, because I see there's four, Erin, total compensation is important. It's more than just the dollar. And we've got to understand, are they looking for the dollar because they have bills to pay? Or is it that total compensation? Because we all have been here where someone's left for 25 cents, they walked across the street. But then in reality, when they look at total compensation, they probably lost $1.25 by
Yep.
walking across that. I mean, it happens every time, but that's a great indication, miscommunication.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think to this one, right, the way it was worded, it's an and, it's not a or, it's an and question. Yes, they want higher pay, and they also have different expectations about what those other perks look like.
Which takes us
Fantastic.
to
Thank
question
you.
3. So let's see, you're in on this one.
So how do we compete with corporate dental groups who offer signing bonuses and high salaries? You kind of touched upon this, Lynn, but
I'll speak a little to this, and then anyone on the call can really speak. Honestly, a dentist is paid as a dentist should be paid. Most are paid on either collections or a production, right? Of some sort of value. So the contracts are pretty much there. The other part is signing bonuses. Instead of signing on bonuses, retention bonuses are fantastic. So the longer you stay, I'll reward you more and more because you're actually sharing. The other is internally, and I'm thinking more specifically dentist here, am I looking also at my dentist that I'm hiring to be one that will, if you would, keep the legacy going after I'm out of the office? And so there is a golden handcuffs, if you wish to call it this, but is there a way that over years I'm actually going to own the practice? And it's not necessarily I have to go to the bank and get $500,000. I'm actually able to earn my keep, if you would, earn my ownership over a period of time. So a nice retention, not just for the doctor, but it could be for the front desk as well. That's something that's very, very nice. And so I honestly, at the end of the day, I'm not seeing where the salary itself is the competitive challenge. It's just the creativity and the communication as a solo needs to happen more upfront, because it's an excuse. Oh well, corporate, and I don't even really call it corporate dentistry. The larger groups are able to pay more. Matthew, you could probably speak to this. Not in reality. A dentist is paid as a dentist is paid. I mean, they're all getting pretty nice salaries.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another way we look at it too. It's like that's true in a case, but that's a niche, like they're attracting specific types of providers. This solo market is totally separate. You're looking for legacy. You're not looking for turn and burn. There's massive turn rates in bigger DSOs for that reason. I get a lot of people, we're a big group, but it's still privately owned. So when we attract talent and when we talk to them about it, it's like, well, hey, I can get this $10,000 sign-on bonus over there. I'm like, all right, go ahead. We do what we do here for a reason. This is what we offer. We've got awesome compensation packages. We've got benefits for all of our full-time employees, and we've got great deals, but it's not going to be that. And what usually happens is they realize the grass isn't greener on the other side. They almost always will call me back and say, hey, you guys still hiring? I'm like, yes, why? Well, I don't really like what we're doing over here. There's a lot of overdiagnosis. There's like, okay. So then they start to learn that those bigger sign-on bonuses exist for a reason. There's inefficiencies in those workflows. Not always, but it does happen. And then they end up coming back saying, hey, I heard a lot of good things about you guys. I want to go and try you guys out. And then they do, and we still keep retention. And it goes the same with hygiene. Hygiene's just as bad. Where I'm at in Washington State, it's very difficult to find a hygienist. So they do get those 10 and sometimes $15,000 sign-on bonuses, which is very attractive because it can pay for their schooling. And they're like, oh, wow, I want to do it. But I can tell you, I haven't found one yet that has been happy with where they've gone, and they almost always will come back around and they try to find something long term that will also pay them sustainably. So yeah, I wouldn't look at it too much like the corporates got us licked. It's a niche, and that's good for them. We've got our side too.
And I appreciate that because you really need to stay true to who you are. Stay
Right.
true to who you are. It's a communication opportunity, but stay true to who you are because you are right. There's a reason for the other. It looks like one more question, Evan, respecting time here.
Thank you. So we've bought new tech, but no one's using it. What do we do? Erin, this is for you.
Yeah. So I guess a reinforcement on this one, right? The training and support, and I'll keep this one really short. The training and support is first and critical. And then I'll go back to my favorite answer. Take away the old way of doing things. If you stop supporting, right, the ability for some of those old things to be used, it will go away. I'll give you a really rough HR example. When I made those technology implementations back in the past, we went from paper time sheets onto electronic. Irene Woods had to get no pay for her to understand that she had to stop using the paper time sheet and use technology. Now we had her paycheck ready for her. Of course, we paid her appropriately and timely. She really understood the message when it was, the solution's no longer there. And so that's a very brash example, but I think it sends the message that you have to commit to it and you have to lead it forward and you have to support it and provide that support training and the resources to your employees. And you've got networks that would be more than happy to help you with that as well. So use your networks, use your resources, and you'll get it done.
And Aaron, if I can just add, and everyone on this call knows that there's support out there if needed. But if you're going to truly embrace AI, you've said it best. Get rid of the old. I'd love to go into a practice when we can actually have a bonfire, right? Burn all of that paper that's really been collecting dust and all of that cabinetry. When an office today is being built, Charmin, you would appreciate this. If there's a lot of cabinets going in and a lot of storage, oh, this is a little old school because today, smaller square footage, very little storage. You don't need it. There's so much artificial intelligence that can support us. And so you are right. Get rid of the old. We don't need the manual anymore. That's all online. It's YouTube. It's whatever, are we starting to embrace? So thank you for that. Evan, let's take it to conclusion. I want to just say on behalf of Black Ops, thank you for all participating and communicating into our roundtables. We do have a series, and so this is our first series. It is focused specifically on AI, but in many different categories. We do have Rev Cycle coming up. We've had real estate coming. Well, it comes up as well. We've got investment piece, investors looking to help invest. So there are some pieces coming in, but right now this first series is all around how do we leverage artificial intelligence. So as made mention, Evan, you have an invite out in your calendar. It would have probably automatically gotten on your calendar on a bi-weekly basis. But please feel free to share that if you think there's some value, or reach out to Kevin and he can reach out to, accordingly who needs to let you know what our future roundtables are as well. And we're really taking feedback. So don't be shy. Send me a text, send me an email, send us, communicate what is your burning and where you need some help. And then, selfishly, introduce Black Ops wherever you can. We'll introduce HR Innovator Group in anywhere we can as well. And everyone on the call today, you know how we support each other. So thank you for that. Evan, I'm going to pitch it back to you and let you close this out.
Absolutely. So we've actually got the contact details for the HR Innovator Group. Thank you so much, Erin, for participating and giving your expertise. You can just screenshot it right now. I'm just leaving on the screen to giving everyone an opportunity to screenshot it. And then you can connect with their LinkedIn or send an email if you need. I've just put as well in the group chat a call link to book a call with Kevin. He can direct you to whoever you need to speak to as well. So that's it, guys. We're going to